Yeah, baby, right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. Oh, baby, so coming off of a lousy 1-3 day. Yesterday brought an end to a string of profitable programs for your boy, and despite the poor betting results last night, I gotta tell you guys, I am feeling absolutely tremendous. Today, we do live to bet another day. That day is today, where Ian and I, big basketball show, 9 total picks across the NBA and college hoops. So let's bring in our guy, senior editor over at BetSided. His name is Iain MacMillan. Looking good. He's looking good. Ian, did you catch the game last night?
No, I did not. I don't know what game you're referring to. I watched my Maple Leafs lose. I did. I watched my Maple Leafs lose to the Boston Bruins again, so that was fun.
I caught up on The Last of Us on HBO. It's an awesome show.
That's good.
I highly recommend it. I didn't even really play the game. Played a little bit, but great show. Okay, guys, a lot to get into today. NBA, college hoops. Ian has a big preview for the NHL All-Star game, and we're going to be spending some time talking about the latest in MMA. A lot of fight announcements. Kind of a big fight this weekend. We got Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, so we're going to weigh in on that and the odds implications there. But enough small talk. Let's get right into the action. Let's start things off in the NBA in beautiful Indiana, where the Lakers are in town. And I absolutely love the Lakers here, minus a 1.5. This seems like an absolute bargain because the Pacers have been absolutely horrible. Last 10 games, 30th in EFG percentage, 29th in opponent EFG percentage, 1-10 in their last 11 for the Pacers, 6 double-digit losses in this span. If this is a trap line, then so be it. I'm willing to be trapped because this line makes no sense at all. I think threes and turnovers could be the difference. Very sloppy play from the Pacers lately, 29th in turnover percentage over the last 10 games. LA, very disciplined. At second, opponent three-point percentage over the last 10 games, 7 versus 28 in favor of the Lakers. And the effort has been there for the Lakers, guys. No longer mailing it in like in previous seasons. They don't play down to the competition. A day of rest before their next game, so I do expect LeBron to play. And this one, the spread could be on the move before tip. Give me the Lakers, an absolute bargain by a bucket in Indiana. All right, Ian, over to college hoops. What's your first pick?
Starting off with a Big Ten matchup between the Michigan Wolverines and the Northwestern Wildcats. By the way, too many Wildcats in college sports. We should take at least, let's say 75% of the schools who call themselves the Wildcats and force them to change their name. Too many Wildcats out there. Northwestern's one of them. I'm going to fade them tonight for that reason, just because they're called the Wildcats. No, I'm going to take Michigan, though, plus 3.5 here in this spot. Northwestern, a much better record this year. But I don't think it holds up when you look at the numbers. For example, 305th in effective field goal percentage, and they are a three-point shooting team, 76th in three-point shot rate this season. And Michigan, much better at defending the three than down low. In fact, they're keeping teams to shooting 32.3% from beyond the arc. That's just outside the top 100 in the country. And the advantage that Northwestern has against most teams it plays against is in the turnover department. They don't turn over the ball, but Michigan is one of the few teams that turns the ball over even less. Northwestern 17th in turnovers per possession, Michigan 6th. So I think Michigan can do enough to keep this game close, if not win. I'll take them plus 3.5.
Okay, breaking news here per Adam Schefter via Twitter. After speaking with multiple teams about their defensive coordinator position, Vic Fangio has decided to join the Dolphins as their defensive coordinator and will officially accept the position on the Miami staff after the Super Bowl. It's official. Us Dolphins fans were a little worried about that one. Okay, moving on back to the NBA here. We get the Miami Heat in New York taking on the Knicks, and I'm going to take the home dog. Give me the Knicks. +2 here. So one of my favorite spots of the season. We fade the Miami Heat after a win around here. I've been playing this a lot on the show. Miami is a brutal 8-17-3 ATS following a win this season, a cover percentage of just 32%. That is the third worst in the NBA. Miami often no-shows on the road. No pride whatsoever. Outright loss at Charlotte the other night. No excuse for that. Dallas destroyed them by 25 back on January 20th. They lost outright at the LeBronless Lakers as an 8.5-point favorite in January. This team, quite simply, does not care about the regular season. You dig into the stats, throw the trends away. Dig into the stats. The Knicks have been better statistically. Last 10 games, better in EFG percentage, opponent EFG percentage. They're getting to the line more while allowing fewer free throw attempts. They're turning it over less. More points per 100 possessions. Beautiful number on the Knicks. +2. Love them to cover. Back to college hoops. What are we looking at next, Ian?
My favorite total bet of the night, Joe, I'm looking at a Pac-12 matchup between Oregon State and Arizona State. I'll take under 129.5 in this game. What do you want when you're betting on an under? You want good defense. You want bad offense. That's what we have here. These two teams, 227th and 318th in offensive efficiency, but 32nd and 162nd in defensive efficiency. So both teams much better on the defensive side of the court. Also, Oregon State plays at a snail's pace. They shouldn't be called the Beavers. They should be called the Oregon State Snails.
Oh.
359th in field goal attempts per game, 338th in possessions per game. And I've brought up this stat before, but it's floor percentage. It's the percentage of a team's possessions that result in at least 1 point being scored. If we want the under, then we want this floor percentage to be as low as possible. And it is pretty low for both teams, especially Oregon State. Arizona State, 219th in floor percentage. Oregon State, 323rd. So, with these two teams facing off tonight, I'll take the under 129.5.
All right, next up, back to the NBA. A bit of a popular play around here for the past couple weeks. I like the Bulls in the first half, coming in at -3.5. The Hornets in town here. You can't trust the Bulls across the full game. Take them in the first half. Dig into the numbers. First half point margin over the last 10 games, 5 versus 29 in favor of Chicago. Significant defensive gap here favoring the Bulls. Opponent EFG in the first half over the last 10 games, 1 versus 25. Points allowed per 100 possessions in that span, 1 versus 26. And the Hornets getting absolutely lit up from three-point land, first versus 27th in opponent three-point percentage in the first half. Hornets allowing the most threes. Bulls allowing the fewest. Chicago in the first half. All right, over to college hoops. Ian, what are we looking at?
Yep, sticking in the Pac-12, a huge spread tonight between UCLA and Washington, but it doesn't bother me. I'm going to lay the points with UCLA in this spot, -17.5. Starting off with the obvious here, Washington, not a good shooting team, 245th in effective field goal percentage. I also think UCLA is going to be able to attack this Washington team in the interior. UCLA 14th in two-point shot rate, 72.1% of their shots come from down low. Washington, much better perimeter defense than their interior defense, so UCLA is going to be able to attack their weakness here. Washington, 25th in opponent three-point field goal percentage, but 116th in opponent two-point field goal percentage. So styles make fights, and I think the styles of these two teams gives UCLA a pretty significant advantage here. UCLA also, they lead the country in extra scoring chances per game, which takes into consideration turnovers, offensive rebounds, all those things, plus 9.8 extra scoring chances per game. Now they take on a Washington team that's all the way down at 343rd, -4.6 extra scoring chances per game. That's going to play a big role in UCLA covering this big spread tonight. I'll take the Bruins -17.5.
All right, right back into the NBA, the game of the night in the NBA. We got the Clippers taking on the Milwaukee Bucks here. Some connectivity issues here, I think. But yeah, give me the Bucks first quarter spread -1.5. We played this one the other night. I also love it here tonight. So Milwaukee coming out absolutely flying here. First quarter point margin over the last 10 games at +7.2. Clippers way down there At 21st, first Q EFG percentage over the last 10 games. It is 1 versus 22 in favor of the Bucks. Milwaukee, number 1 in first quarter scoring, which aligns perfectly versus a Clippers defense that's taking the first quarter off. 25th in first quarter opponent EFG shooting percentage. 3rd in Milwaukee, by the way. On their current road trip, the Clippers have been scored by 12, 16, and 6 in the first quarter. Not good starts for them. Great start for the Bucks. Love them in the first quarter tonight. Okay. Back to Ian. College hoops here. Technical
Yes,
issues
it
here.
is another West Coast game here. This one's late. I think it's like an 11 p.m. tip-off, I think. So if you want a late-night sweat, I got one for you. It's San Francisco. It's the Dons taking on St. Mary's. I'm going to take the points with San Francisco plus 12.5 here. Listen, St. Mary's, I will admit, is a better team, but 12.5-point spread is ridiculous. These two teams are way too close and too many statistics to justify this big point spread. For example, an effective field goal percentage, sure. Actually, an effective field goal percentage, San Francisco actually has the advantage, coming in at 29th in the country compared to St. Mary's at 49th. Now, St. Mary's is better defensively. They're actually one of the best defensive teams in the country. 10 opponent effective field goal percentage, but San Francisco can hang with them. 103rd in opponent effective field goal percentage. Not a big enough margin to justify this spread. Also, the Dons, one of the best names amongst all colleges, 4th in three-point shot rate. They shoot the three ball a ton, and they've been hot from 3 over their last 3 games, shooting 47.9% from beyond the arc. That is the 7th best three-point field goal percentage in the country over that stretch. So I will take San Francisco to keep this within 12 points against St. Mary's tonight.
Okay, my final pick of the program here. I'm going to take CJ McCollum, 25 or more points. This one's going off at plus 185 versus the Dallas Mavericks tonight. So McCollum is coming off a great month of January where he averaged 24.6 points per game. He hit the 25-point mark on 7 different occasions, 16 times overall this season. He's had at least 25 points in the game. Great opponent for him tonight. The Mavs are getting absolutely cooked by opposing guards. Last 10 games, 28th in points per game allowed to guards, 25th in threes allowed to guards. He is a high-volume three-point shooter, and we should expect to see him on the line quite a bit tonight, hopefully. Dallas 29th in free throw attempts allowed over the last 10 games. McCollum, 25 or more points. All right. There's some technical difficulties here this morning, a little slow. Ian, big NHL All-Star game going down this weekend. Who do you like?
The Atlantic Division, just because that's the division that the Leafs are in. So I am actually probably going to bet on the games. It's a tournament. 3-on-3 should be fun. 10-minute halves. The 2 Eastern Conference divisions play against each other. The 2 Western Conference divisions play against each other. Then the winners compete in the final for $1 million. I think I'm going to bet on the Atlantic Division, which I think is fair to say that they are the best division in hockey. You got the Bruins, you got the Lightning, you got the Maple Leafs, you got the Panthers, you got the Sabres.
Yeah.
I'll bet on the Atlantic Division.
You know, a lot of people complain about All-Star games, this skills competition with the NFL Skills Challenge. We got Tyler Huntley in there and Derek Carr. I guess he's technically a Raider still. He'll be participating in the Pro Bowl games. This stuff is for kids. Like, I complain the slam dunk competition is so awful. The NBA, and they don't play defense. Each team scores 300 points. It's for kids. That's the way to look at it. So maybe I'll just stop complaining about the All-Star stuff altogether because I loved it as a kid. I used to really like during the Major League Baseball All-Star game, which is probably the best All-Star game that there is, when they brought out all the players and introduced them. I don't know why I like that so much. But guys, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor here, BetMGM. It's never been easier to bet with confidence. That's because the King of Sportsbooks is giving you a can't-miss first bet offer with up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS and get a first bet offer up to $1,000 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win. That's VI bonus, all one word, no spaces, for a first bet offer of $1,000 paid back in bonus bets. If you don't win, just use the code VI bonus. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older to wager. Offers for new customers only. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All right, baby. All right, Ian, let's talk a little MMA. I think we might make this a bi-weekly segment. We're going to be running short on topics here very soon with the NFL season winding down. But a lot going on in the world of MMA. A lot of big fight announcements here for the first half of 2023. Perhaps not bigger than the big rematch for the middleweight title. Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira, the new champion, who seems to have Adesanya's number here, guys. Pereira is going to once again be an underdog for this one, plus 135. Adesanya coming back at minus 155. Now, Adesanya was 100% winning that fight up until it ended at Madison Square Garden back in the fall, but everyone knows what happened. Pereira, a great, beautiful comeback here. The knockout victory. Not really an official pick here. We do those when we get closer to the fight. But I don't see any reason to go off of Pereira here. What am I missing here, Ian? Pereira's got his number. We can get him at plus money. I think that's a beautiful bet. What do you think?
I agree. I don't think you are missing anything. I'll be on Pereira as well. Maybe if things were close to pick'em or even Pereira favored, maybe I'd go Adesanya. But we've seen this fight multiple times now in a couple different sports, and it's all ending the same way almost every single time. So hopefully Pereira doesn't need a late fifth-round knockout again. But you can't just say that late-round knockouts are a fluke and that the other guy should have won. They're not a fluke. He knocked him out.
It's part of the fight.
I will be taking Pereira once again.
Okay, co-main event on that card. A popular fight. The odds aren't even close. So Gilbert Burns, Jorge Masvidal. Burns coming in as a massive minus 435 favorite versus the big fan favorite here, Jorge Masvidal, coming back at plus 350. There's no way I can pick Masvidal in this one. I'll probably take Gilbert Burns to win by decision. It's only going to be a 3-round fight. We'll have to see what the odds are when props come out. But Masvidal, the magic is gone, guys. This was a guy who was a borderline journeyman fighter, a high-level journeyman, if you want to call him that, a gatekeeper type of a guy. And then he had a perfect storm. He went up into London and he knocked out a very overrated Darren Till. I think everyone knows that now. Then, of course, he had the 1 in a million shot against Ben Askren. Can't take anything away from him for that, but how often does a guy land a shot like that? And then he goes and he has the BMF title fight against another very overrated guy, Nate Diaz. He beat him, Dr. Stoppage. But then as soon as the competition elevated here, old Jorge hasn't looked very good. He got manhandled twice by Usman, including a crazy knockout. We saw him get manhandled by Colby Covington as well. So some people might look at this, Ian, and they might say, geez, plus 350, pretty good value on Masvidal. You got to take a shot. Do you think he's worth a shot at plus 350?
Absolutely not. And what I might even do is some cases when we see these big favorites, I usually just don't bet on the fight, or I might just bet on like a certain prop, like a certain method of victory prop. This case, I might actually just lay the juice on Burns. I don't know why I'm blanking his name, Gilbert Burns. I might just like lay, if he's minus 500, I might just literally like bet 5 units to win 1 unit on him. And just eat the juice, because I don't see how Masvidal wins this fight whatsoever. So, no, he is not worth a shot in any stretch of the imagination. Even I think Burns has value, even though it's such a juice number. Value is value. If you think someone's a minus 700 favorite and they're listed at minus 500, then you are getting value on it as long as you're okay laying the juice. And in this spot, I think I am.
Okay, last but not least here, Ian, something that's kind of flying under the radar here a little bit, maybe because it's not UFC, maybe because it's a Bellator, but the final fight for Fedor Emelianenko will take place on Saturday versus Ryan Bader. Fedor coming in as a plus 280 dog. Bader, the former UFC light heavyweight contender. Pretty big favorite here, minus 340. Now, Fedor, I refer to him as the original GOAT. When a lot of people were first getting into MMA, Fedor was regarded as the GOAT. You know, he tore his way through Pride Fighting Championships. He came over to the U.S. and didn't have a whole lot of success, really. Now he's 45 years old. He's actually coming off 2 first-round victories, knockout victories. Now, I'm going to sit this one out. But do you have Fedor? Do you think it's fair to say he's top 5 MMA fighter of all time?
Yes, Fedor is like the equivalent of the guy who I think is the best goaltender of all time in the NHL, Vladislav Tretiak, a Russian guy who never fought in the top league in North America, but who I think still deserves a ton of credit for being a top 5 player, and that's the same case with Fedor. Don't people forget, or maybe they don't forget, maybe they just started watching UFC and MMA recently, but Pride was like the biggest organization, or at least equal to UFC for a certain stretch of time, and Fedor dominated it. Go look at Fedor's record leading all the way up to 2009. Now, once he came over and fought in Strikeforce, I mean, by that point, he was a little old, so he fell off. But Fedor went on one of the greatest runs in MMA history. Yeah, I think Fedor deserves to be a top 5 fighter. As I'm lagging an unbelievable amount, it doesn't even show my mouth moving. Yeah, I love Fedor. I think he's a top 5 fighter of all time.
All right, yeah, we're going to end it at that here today, guys. We're having some technical difficulties. It's unfortunate because we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. But yeah, we'll continue the MMA discussion at another time. Make sure you join us tomorrow, our big-time Super Bowl betting extravaganza show. We'll have all these technical difficulties worked out. Thank you guys very much for watching. Best of luck with your bets tonight, unless, of course, you're fading us. And as always, keep chasing that paper.